Well, yeah, Boris channeling Maggie for once. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. I think most of us would agree that politically Boris is no Maggie, but he's certainly trying to be here. And no coincidence, Colin, I think that this announcement has been made just 3 days before local elections, where, of course, the Conservative Party and their election candidates and councillors might get a drubbing. This is, look, I actually think this is a good thing, a good announcement. The problem, of course, with Right to Buy has always been that it's mired in controversy because you tend to not get a replacement in terms of the properties that are sold to those tenants by way of government councils or those housing associations simply replacing the properties that are sold. So the issue we'll have here is, whilst it's great for housing association tenants, it's great for the Conservative Party because they get more homeowners and therefore potentially more voters, if I'm just being political for a second. Yeah. But actually the taxpayer, as you allude to, is absolutely paying for this. And the bigger problem, apart from that subsidy, whether that's right or wrong, is whether those properties get replaced, because of course there's a lack of affordable and social housing anyway, let alone if hundreds and thousands of people now decide to buy their housing association flat or house.
I suppose the other winners are the councils, the local authorities, if they're allowed to keep the receipts, which is moot, isn't it? And if they're allowed to keep the receipts of the sales of the council properties or the housing association properties, whether they can then plough that back into new housing, which, as you say, Russell, leads us on to the real vexed question here. Even if you've got the money, where are you going to build them?
Yeah, and I do worry about putting the onus on councils to build houses. You know, of course, back in the day, back in the 1950s, under Macmillan, we built around 300,000 council houses a year. We were very, very good at it. Over the last few years, that's dwindled now to about 3,000 council homes because housing associations were set up to do that job instead. Michael Gove, of course, in recent weeks has talked about reversing the Section 106 system. So instead of a house builder having to build and effectively donate social housing as part of a planning application, Michael Gove actually is considering that should just take the form of money that goes to councils. Now, that sounds great on paper, but I'm not sure councils are very good house builders anymore. So in terms of the skills and the resources and the knowledge that those councils need, I think that could lead to absolute disaster if, despite the money, despite the £7 billion that Gove is talking about there being in the pot, I think a lot of councils will stand there scratching their heads not knowing how to put a shovel in the ground, frankly.